the establishment of the Islamic Republic of Iran remains one of the most destabilizing events in the modern history of the Middle East. For more than 4 decades, the Islamic Republic of Iran has been at the center of nearly every major conflict in the Middle East, from Lebanon to Iraq to Syria to Yemen. Iran has built a vast network of allies and militias stretching across the region. But why? Why did Iran invest so heavily in this strategy? Why would it jeopardize its relationships with its Arab neighbors? Why is Iran targeting the Arab Gulf states despite their public opposition to the war? To answer that, we need to go back to the moment that changed the Middle East forever: 1979. In this pivotal year, one of the most consequential events in modern Middle Eastern history took place: the Iranian Revolution. The revolution overthrew the Western-backed monarchy of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a key U.S. ally. It was replaced with a radically new political system, the Islamic Republic of Iran, led by the charismatic and fiercely anti-Western Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. This event did not only transform Iran internally, it sent geopolitical shockwaves across the entire Middle East, challenging the established order and altering the balance of power for decades to come. Since then, Iran has been involved, directly or indirectly, in numerous conflicts across the region. Groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, and various less famous militias in Iraq and later in Syria have often been strongly linked to Iran. Some of these organizations, most notably Hezbollah, were directly founded, funded, and organized by the Iranian state itself. But why has Iran pursued this costly and controversial strategy of regional intervention? To understand this, we have to look not only at modern politics, but also at history, ideology, and regional power struggles. The roots of animosity between Iran and its Arab neighbors run deep, stretching back to the 7th century, when Arab armies conquered the mighty Persian Sasanian Empire. This conquest ended centuries of Persian imperial rule and brought Persia under the control of the expanding Arab Empire. In the 16th century, another major divide developed: religion. While most Arab countries are predominantly Sunni Muslim, Iran became the largest Shiite Muslim state after adopting Shi'ism as its official religion. This schism, rooted in a dispute over the Prophet Muhammad's successor, was weaponized by Shah Ismail. It was largely a political move to forge a distinct Persian identity and separate his empire from the rival, Sunni-led Ottoman Empire. Today, this religious fault line defines regional geopolitics. Iran is the political and military center of Shiite Islam, while many of its rivals, especially Saudi Arabia, see themselves as leaders of the Sunni Muslim world. In the modern era, this rivalry was violently reignited by the Iran-Iraq War. Shortly after the 1979 Iranian Revolution, Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein invaded Iran, sparking one of the longest and bloodiest conflicts of the 20th century. Several Arab Gulf states, fearing that Iran's revolutionary ideology might spread across their own borders and destabilize their monarchies, financially supported Iraq's war effort. For Iran, this brutal 8-year war reinforced a deep-seated perception that it was surrounded by hostile neighbors and needed to defend itself against regional coalitions. Geopolitically, the Islamic Republic continues to view its Arab neighbors as one of the most significant threats to its survival, a paranoia that shapes its foreign policy to this day. The conflict also shaped Iran's future strategy. Instead of relying solely on conventional military power, it began investing heavily in asymmetric warfare and regional alliances. Iran developed a strategy of supporting armed groups across the region, building ties, supplying funds, training, logistics through deniable channels. These groups, often referred to as proxies, allow Iran to influence conflicts beyond its borders without engaging in direct warfare, ultimately allowing it to neutralize the threats of its neighbors. Tehran's network operates like a web: nodes, lines, corridors. They extend reach, shape battlefields, and raise the cost of any move against Iran. The result is a layered deterrent: dispersed, resilient, calibrated to project power while keeping direct confrontation at arm's length. Alongside this hard power approach, Iran has actively sought to expand its influence through the soft power of religion. Its strategy has been twofold. First, Iran has worked to strengthen its ties with existing Shiite communities across the Middle East, particularly in countries such as Iraq, Lebanon, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and even Egypt. Second, Iran has attempted to expand the reach of Shi'ism itself, promoting its religious and political model beyond its borders. Through religious institutions, media networks, cultural diplomacy, political alliances, Iran has tried to present its interpretation of Shiite Islam as an alternative source of leadership in the Muslim world. Central to this narrative is Iran's self-appointed role as a defender of Muslim causes, most notably the Palestinian issue. Fierce opposition to Israel has become a pillar of Iran's foreign policy. By championing resistance against Israel and Western influence, Iran seeks broad appeal among Muslims across the region while simultaneously undermining Arab governments that cooperate with Western powers or normalize relations with Israel. Through this narrative, Iran attempts to position itself as the true protector of Muslim interests, portraying its regional rivals as aligned with foreign adversaries. These expansive efforts have deeply alarmed Sunni-majority governments, placing Iran in direct, hostile competition with Saudi Arabia. Relying on its vast economic resources and its status as the custodian of Islam's holiest sites in Mecca and Medina, Riyadh has long positioned itself as the traditional leader of the Islamic world. This geopolitical clash escalated sharply during the Arab Spring, when Iran supported Shiite uprisings in places like Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, condemning the Gulf monarchies for repressing them. Saudi Arabia and its allies, in turn, accused Tehran of intentionally fomenting unrest. These tensions culminated in the devastating proxy war in Yemen. In 2015, after the Iran-backed Houthi militia seized the capital, Sana'a, a Saudi-led coalition intervened militarily to restore the internationally recognized government, viewing the Houthis as a severe Iranian threat on their southern border. Saudi Arabia cut diplomatic ties with Iran in 2016, after protesters in Tehran attacked the Saudi embassy, following the execution of a Shiite cleric in Saudi Arabia. Only in 2023 did Saudi Arabia and Iran agree to restore diplomatic relations. Although the deal, brokered by China in Beijing, ended a 7-year diplomatic rift and led to the reopening of embassies, it did not resolve the deep political and strategic divisions between the two regional powers. In fact, the deal was a smart move by Saudi Arabia to remove any pretext for Iran to let its proxies attack Saudi territory. And for a while, it worked. During the following years, even as Israel and the United States targeted Iran's allies in places like Lebanon and Yemen, and even struck Iran itself, Saudi Arabia largely avoided becoming a direct target. But today, it doesn't work anymore. The regime of the Islamic Republic now faces a genuine existential threat, and it is therefore playing all its cards, no matter how risky. On one hand, attacking Gulf countries could dramatically increase the economic cost of the conflict for the global economy. By disrupting vital oil and gas shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, Tehran hopes it can push the international community to pressure for an end to the war. On the other hand, many within the Iranian leadership view the Gulf states as the original enemy and partly responsible for the conflict. This is a deeply entrenched perception, because countries like Bahrain, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates host significant American military bases, including CENTCOM's forward headquarters. Tehran hawks view them as integral parts of the U.S. security architecture. From their perspective, such U.S. operations would have been impossible without the complicity of these nations, which granted American forces unrestricted access to their airspace and territorial waters. This support is seen not as passive, but as active participation. Furthermore, even moderates in Tehran argue that the Gulf states should have actively opposed the conflict in practice, rather than facilitating it through logistical and political support. In conclusion, the Islamic Republic of Iran has long viewed its Arab neighbors as a major threat. For decades, it worked to neutralize this danger by investing heavily in a network of regional proxies, its so-called axis of resistance. However, in recent years, this proxy network has suffered devastating blows. Hamas has been largely dismantled in Gaza, the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria has collapsed, and Hezbollah in Lebanon has been significantly weakened. The regime that evolved within this strategic vision of now finds itself isolated and cornered. It is facing the final, desperate stage of its strategy to ensure its own survival.